Hey everybody, welcome back. I was having a chat to Stephen from Spark RC, the guys that do a load of 3D printed bits and pieces. And we were chatting away and saying, look, is it something that you get started painting for X amount of pounds, and discussing this and compressor and all the rest of it. Anyway, I was looking at modeltune.com to see about paints and bits and pieces and see what was there, and I've come across this Hobbynox Tara top feed airbrush set, and I couldn't get over the price point. Now I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up or not. $41.99 retail price. Now just for reference, that is my primary airbrush. It's an Iwata Custom. Yeah, and a beautiful bit of kit. Just a wonderful airbrush. But it's 300 plus pounds. It's an expensive airbrush. So we were discussing about how could you get started with a basic compressor, basic airbrush, and bits and pieces like that. And when I saw this was available, I was across anyway, lifting paints and stuff like that. Stuff for we're racing tomorrow as well, so I needed stuff for that too. And I thought, you know what, 42 quid, let's bring it home, give it a go, and see where we get to. Now, the important thing with this, obviously it's a new airbrush to me. I don't know an awful lot about it. So, obviously practice on something that's not important. Like this, which is a shell for Tim from Tim's RC surgery. I'll obviously give him the body shell before I show him this video. But yeah, look, let's get everything unwrapped and get cracking, and hopefully Tim doesn't kill me. Okay, so we open up the box itself and see what we have inside. First thing obviously is the airbrush itself. Now it is marketed as a detail airbrush, so the cup's only 2 cc, it's a tiny little thing. But nice things like Castle diffuser at the front, which is better for getting up close and personal with. We have a pressure bleed at the front. So if you don't have a pressure bleed to your left hand side like I do, it's obviously nice. You can regulate really easily what's going into it, and it does feel like quite a nice bit of kit. We've got a jack stop at the back to stop accidentally putting out too much paint, and it looks, yeah, it doesn't seem to be, everything's all O-rings in it. It feels quite nice. It all looks pretty high quality. Again, 40 quid, Billy bargain. In the package then itself, so the airbrush is there. We have nearly 2 meters of braided hose, which is normally quite expensive. In most cheaper airbrushes, you get just a rubbish little rubber tube, which doesn't do you any good. But that's proper braided. It's good. Happy days. A pipette for pipette reasons. That is actually quite an important little bit of kit. That's for getting the nozzle out if we ever need to do some modifications to it. And obviously then swapping between there's a 0.2 millimeter, which is a very fine nozzle installed in the airbrush at the moment. We also have a 0.3 millimeter nozzle and needle, and we have a 0.5 millimeter nozzle needle. Now, 0.5 is probably what you're going to use most of the time. I'm curious to see how the 0.2 gets on with some of the slightly heavier viscosity water-based paints, so I'm going to try that first, obviously, because why not? And yeah, let's get it hooked up and see how it performs first of all. The first thing we'll get it piped up. We will then try it with some water, get a nosy at what the spray pattern's doing, and see from there. Then I'll draw on my already disgustingly dirty table. I will have a play about, and then we'll potentially ruin Tim's new shell, but we'll have a go at it and see where we get. Okay, so that's just hooked up. I have chickened out a little bit because everything's hardwired into my spray booth here, so I didn't go down the route of changing the braided hose, but it is going to set up and be a spare braided hose for undoubtedly when I burst one of these. Yeah, first things first, let's go over this. Just making sure I can see my hat every now and again. You will notice me looking over at my phone occasionally. That is because it is showing a screen. If any of you have seen Inception, that's pretty much how that works. And it's just make sure that you're seeing what you're supposed to be seeing at the moment, because obviously my eyes are down here and the camera's up here. Okay, so quick ones off. If you're not familiar with an airbrush, two major types of an airbrush. You have a single action and a dual action. A single action basically means your trigger goes down and that's it, and when it goes down the paint flows and everything is. And the adjustment's done by a chuck usually back here. With a dual action airbrush you have two controls, okay? So you have down for pressure and then back for a paint release. On this then you have two additional adjustments from it. This chuck at the back controls how far back, therefore how much paint you can release. So if you're new to it and a bit ham-fisted, you can make that so you can't do anything else. It's nice for confidence as much as anything else. And something that I've not seen in an airbrush, certainly for a long time, is the pressure control valve. Best thing is if you can listen to this. So I can adjust the pressure and the flow through this simply by turning that. What you'll not be able to see, which I was quite curious about, is you can feel that at the end of the thread just skipping, so you can't actually, that screw will not fall out regardless of what we do. So right, with that in mind, let's we'll build up slowly. Let's chuck some water into this and see where we get to. Okay, so if you can see this, hopefully you can. If I just introduce pressure, nothing happens, nothing comes out. Then slide the airbrush chuck back, and you get more and more flow of paint. So yeah, I mean that's working all as it should. That's just water, so get rid of it. Let's see where we get to with. First things first is some black paint. I've pre-thinned this for use in my Iwata airbrush, but it's a 0.35 nozzle, so we might need to thin down a little bit further for a 0.2. Okay, that's really nice, really easy to control. That's pretty awesome. Out of the box, no adjustments, no messing about. The nice thing about this is you then have the full width as well. So right, let's grab Tim's body shell and I'll start throwing down the first couple of coats. Okay, as discussed in my how-to notes, your first coat, do not try and cover everything in one coat. it's a matter of building up layers. You need to give this something to key to first of all. So your first coat is just a light, almost dusting of paint, just to give everything something to key to with water-based paint. My trusty compressor doing what it does. As you can imagine, it's quite a big compressor. It takes a while to heat up or to charge. So, right, with that back again, that's been on the heater for 30 seconds. So let's grab our airbrush and again start to build up. That is how quickly 2 cc's of paint flows through, though. That's the only thing that you'll find. Okay, and let's put that back under the heater for a wee second. See where. Okay, with that side of things done, that's already been coated with RCS body prep. So we'll feather in a little white edge into here in sporadic bits to see where we get to. It'll be a proper test for the accuracy of this as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's whack the pressure down to start with. Oh, keep on forgetting the camera's on top of my head. Okay, so you've seen what the airbrush is capable of. And where do I think? Where do I think it's going to be? Will it be replacing my Iwata Custom? No. Simply because it's what I've known, what I'm used to, and everything else. This is an exceptional second airbrush. It's really, really good. The price point is incredible. And the actual work and quality of it is really, really good as well. The only downside of this really is the size of the paint cup, but that's what it's designed for. It is supposed to be the pressure version of it. There is another version, similar build quality, everything else, with a larger cup. That one, to be honest with you, you could use as your primary airbrush, no problem at all. with the price points of these, I mean the larger cup one's slightly more expensive, it's 61 pound if I remember right. Really with the price point of these, it allows you to have two brushes sitting there, one for detail work, one for the coverage work, for just over £100 retail. That's pretty incredible. Where I was really impressed with this, and where I will, to be brutally honest with you, I'll be keeping it hooked up. The very, very fine detail work with a 0.2 nozzle and needle is brilliant. And it means I'm not stopping and starting, taking the needle guide off my water brush. And just means that I have, whenever you're doing the detail work, the grills, the lights, everything else with that, it means I can have the main coverage paint in my primary airbrush, but for the little tiny fades, you can leave black or white or whatever in this and chop and change between the brushes. And at £40, it's different to have a bank of airbrushes with different paints in them when they're 300 quid each. To have that accessibility at £42 is incredible. And yeah, something that I'm going to keep hooked up, I'm going to keep using for a long time. And yeah, really impressed. The people who I think would make the most benefit out of this are people who are used to and will still be painting with aerosols, but they want something a little bit different. So if you're painting primarily with an aerosol, but you want a little fade, you want a little bit of detail, something like this with a cheap compressor is spot on. Yeah, really happy that I took the jump out of curiosity, and something that I'll continue to use for a while to come yet. Thanks for watching. See you next time.